Welcome to In the Moment, the Mercyhealth's trauma preparedness episodes, where we dive into the critical world of trauma care and emergency preparedness. I'm Trent, an EMS instructor, and in each episode, we'll explore the essential strategies, insights, and innovations that help save lives when every second counts. Trauma can strike at any moment, whether it's a natural disaster, an accident, or a sudden medical emergency. Our team of experts here at Mercyhealth is dedicated to equipping healthcare professionals, first responders, and community members with the knowledge and tools that they need to respond effectively and efficiently. Join us as we discuss real-life stories, share best practices, and interview specialists who are at the forefront of trauma care. Together, we'll uncover how preparedness can make all the difference in those critical moments. So whether you're a healthcare professional, a community leader, or simply someone who wants to learn more about trauma preparedness, this podcast is for you. Let's get started.
Welcome back, everyone. We're back with the In the Moment podcast through Mercyhealth. With me today, Jessica and Jamie, both Mercyhealth employees. I'm taking Trent's spot today, so I hope I can fill the shoes, at least figuratively. Today's topic, we're talking about online dating safety. And what does that look like in today's society? What does that look like in different age groups? Do you guys have any initial thoughts on what online dating?
Well, first, should we introduce Jamie?
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Jamie, introduce yourself.
You don't want to go first?
Well, there's not. I feel like you have a better title than I do.
My name is Jamie Counsell. I run the sexual assault program for Mercy System, so both Janesville and Rockford. The program and the work that I do, so I'm a forensic nurse, and we see victims of crime, so primarily sexual assault. We do see the lifespan, birth through death. We are open 24/7 and are the only program in Rock County. But we also see child abuse, elder abuse, human trafficking, strangulation, domestic violence, drug endangered children, and really kind of any crime.
Trafficking.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that?
13 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been here since 2015.
So what does that training entail to become a SANE nurse?
So minimally, you need to be a registered nurse. It does not matter what follows your name, meaning like associates, bachelor's, master's, doctorate. So you need to be a nurse. And then you have to typically be a nurse for at least a year or two to kind of learn your scope and how to care for patients, critical thinking. And then if you have an interest in forensics, then you apply to a program. And then from there, we put you through a training. In Wisconsin, it's a 66-hour course, 24 of it's online, and then you go through a 5-day, Monday through Friday course that's put on through Wisconsin DOJ. I am one of the faculty members, so I teach the class too. And then once you get through that, you get your certificate that you're trained, and then you start orientating with your program. So every program's a little bit different. Ours is, orientation typically takes probably about 6 months to a year because it's pool, so they're not staff. So it's hit or miss on if you're taking call, if you're actually going to see cases. Also, because of the patient population we have, it could take quite a while to see both male, female, children, adolescents, adults, different injuries, different tests, labs. So to really kind of feel confident. I think most nurses in the program, it takes about 3 years before they stop calling me with every case they have. So, which is fine. I am available for them always, and for law enforcement and CPS. So if there's questions, I'd rather have somebody ask than just.
So if someone, and God forbid they have to come in and have a SANE exam done, are you a mandatory reporter?
Yes, for minors.
So what does that mean, mandatory reporter?
Mandatory reporting is if it's a minor, so anybody who's under 18, if a crime has occurred to them, so physical or sexual abuse, neglect as well, we are mandated to report that. The only other time, like for adult population, would be cognitive issues, or, you know, if they classify as disabled, so nonverbal, can't make decisions on their own, somebody kind of is their guardian, then we're mandated to report that as well.
So if a normal adult comes in and wants to do the SANE exam and then is having reservations, does that SANE kit just stay with you then?
So, yeah, so we have guidelines. So if a victim, survivor comes in, we give them options of care, but it depends on the scenario. So if somebody presents, and this is an adult situation, and they say they were assaulted, they have the option of reporting to law enforcement or not. They can say they want to report, and then as we go through the process, maybe law enforcement shows up, and then they say, actually, I don't want to talk to law enforcement. Then we just politely tell our law enforcement friends they're not reporting anymore, and then law enforcement will not speak to them. They can withdraw at any time, meaning they can start talking to law enforcement and then say, I don't want to go forward.
Do you see that happen a lot in cases that they choose not to come forward, or?
Yes and no. So most of the time when they're coming in for services, so if they're doing evidence collection, it's like a collection kit that goes to crime lab that tests for DNA. So they have to present to us within 120 hours. So that's 5 days.
Okay.
That's typically how long sperm lives, which is how we have the time frame from crime lab. So if they come in that window, we offer it. If they aren't sure if they want to collect it, if they're reporting to law enforcement, you know, it's one thing. If they're not reporting to law enforcement, we more err on collecting it because they're there, because just because we collect it doesn't mean they have to report. If we collect it and they're not talking to law enforcement, then the program sends the kit to crime lab, and they will actually keep it for 10 years. So they have 10 years to decide, which I will say, we just recently had crime lab reach out because a patient after 7.5 years decided to report. So they had the kit. So now they can go through the process.
Better to have it and not need it than not have it and need it.
Because once you're outside that window, we can't collect anymore. So to answer your question, it's scenario based. So if it's like spousal assault, which I think now it's a crime. It wasn't until like 1980s.
Yeah.
Ish.
Late 80s.
Where spousal sexual assault wasn't a crime. But people still don't know that just because you're married, your partner can't force you to have sex with them. So we see, you know, situations like that where spouses just aren't sure because in their mind, well, if I report this, they're going to be in trouble. College campuses, there's a lot where if there was drinking or they were doing things, they don't necessarily want to report because they're not sure if they maybe initiated something. Although part of the conversation is if somebody violated you, it's nothing you did, right? So we see that, or, you know, like neighbors, just if they're unsure of the situation, then sometimes they'll come in for services because they can still do like STI testing and treatment and like pregnancy prophylaxis and emergency contraception. So there's other things we can do in the moment besides just like evidence. And we do a lot of education.
Yeah.
So that's how I got to know you, Jamie, is through the domestic violence program, as a police officer, not as a...
I want to clarify.
But that was a lot of times the question that I got when referring to you was, if a crime is reported to me, I have no choice but to make an arrest. Is that the same with you as far as reporting it to police in a domestic violence scenario?
No, not that I know of. So the only time I really see domestic violence come through the program is if there's strangulation and there's imaging, because it is best practice if somebody has been strangled within 72 hours that they come in for medical assessment. Because when you've been strangled, depending on, the type of hold it was, how long it was. There's different charges for that. So we just like to assess, like, was there loss of consciousness? Did they lose, bowel and bladder function? Because if you start to lose those things, you're closer to death than if, your breathing was occluded for a little bit. So yeah, petechia, hemorrhages, vaginal bleeding is one that's typically missed in the ER.
Delayed swelling.
Yep, and the swelling is actually internal. So the CT scans we're not only looking for shearing of like arteries, which increases their chance of having a stroke in the future. It also contributes to thyroid problems. So the more information we have when people come in can kind of help guide healthcare in the long run.
So, Erin, you're saying that if somebody were in a situation that, and they called 911 instead of a program, the SANE program, you automatically have to.
So in domestic violence laws in Wisconsin, if you report to a law enforcement officer an incident that happened, and if there's elements that showed that a crime was committed, a police officer has no choice but to make an arrest. So it takes the question and the decision making out of my hands to, we'll let it go this time, or it's just an automatic arrest, mandatory arrest. And then once the arrest is made, it's mandatory you go to jail unless you can post bond. Okay. So automatic 72-hour no contact imposed unless the victim wants to waive that contact.
Interesting. Okay.
But if they come to me, they have the choice. Do they want me to call law enforcement, or do they just want to be seen for medical? So, but I think it's also important that people who strangle are not rule followers. So, meaning they're bad people. They're looking in your eye as they're trying to take your breath away, right? They're also our number one cop killers. Mm-hmm. So it's always more helpful to know which part of our assessment with strangulation and DV is finding out if there's firearms in the home, so that if we do have to report it to law enforcement, we can let them know there's weapons in the home.
Oh, wow, okay.
And if they have access to it. And they, I think, typically are like our mass shooters. So there's different statistics that go with, typically if somebody has committed a certain level of crime, that there is some form of DV or strangulation in their past.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So on that topic, Jess, can you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Jess. I am in the marketing department. Just recently started online dating, and I think many of us in this day and age, are online dating, and it's kind of scary out there. It's not the most safe situation, or you don't feel like you're already kind of vulnerable. You're putting yourself in, a situation that you might not be familiar with, or maybe you're just not familiar with, online dating at all. So like there are different, levels that I feel like I'm learning about on daily with certain behaviors and like
what to look for, red flags.
Yeah, it's so scary to think like and being a woman today, I feel like there are more people I know now more than ever that have come out and been very honest and said like, oh, I've had domestic violence, or I've been assaulted, or I've had these things happen to me. And I think bringing forth this topic and educating and giving as much knowledge to our viewers and our audience as possible will just be beneficial in the long run for everyone. So
yeah. So just to be clear, you're in your 30s.
Yes,
just
correct.
Started online dating.
Yeah,
I'm in my 50s and have been off and on online datings for 20 years.
Yeah.
No experience?
No. I've helped people set profiles up. But I can say, I don't know that I would online date.
So here's my reasoning is, how do you meet people nowadays when you're probably not the best to meet somebody at a bar, right? We can agree on that. And with all of us being so basically closed off, how do you, especially young people, they live on their phones. So how do you get out and meet people? And young people in general don't have that ability to gab, to talk.
Have a conversation.
Yeah, and it's so, it's like I can sit behind my phone and be anonymous until I feel like I want to introduce myself to this person.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going away by any stretch of the imagination. So getting into that, how do you know how to choose the correct dating app? What do you guys think? I mean, there's probably, 25, 30 different dating apps out there, depending on lifestyle, your age.
Yeah, I think I'm on 3. I don't know why I'm on so many, because I feel like I see a lot of the same people on on different apps. But
if you're gonna look, cast a wide net, right?
I guess that was my initial thought when I first started was, okay, maybe there will be somebody, on one that's not on the other.
Yeah.
Or
what are and if you're new to online dating, I don't know which site is most popular.
Yeah, I think one of my friends, some of them you have to be referred. So I got a referral from a friend for one of them. But otherwise, the other ones are just the basic, Bumble, Hinge.
Tinder.
Yeah.
Plenty of Fish. What was the other one? OkCupid.
Yep.
And then you said, what, Facebook dating? That's new. I don't know what that is either.
Oh, I did some research. So, because I said to Briggs, I'm like, well, I usually come in after. Somebody goes on a date, something happens, and then I'm the backup, right?
The bad date.
Now they come see me because something bad happened. So I found out a lot of stuff about dating apps that I wasn't really aware of, because I feel like even, 15 years ago, apps were a thing. It was more like Match.com or eHarmony are the ones I remember. But there were 2 of my friends who were on a sugar baby website thing, because it was supposed to be wealthy men who just want to take care of you, right? I'm sure that's not what was happening.
I'm not on that one.
And at the time, Millionaire Matchmaker was a big show where you could apply to be on this show, and pretty much it's to even be one of the millionaire bachelors, you had to make a certain amount of money with criteria. But what I found out through looking through stuff for this episode was that because she's a matchmaker, she can be held to a higher standard. So if something goes bad with the matches, they can sue her. So she has to really dig in and really find out about people. So she's doing all the work and then just letting this bachelor kind of pick through
Interesting.
people.
So
whereas these websites, there's no accountability for them.
Yeah, no background check, no.
Yeah. I mean, I did see that they are starting to put more safety features, and they're supposed to lay that out what it is. So they're supposed to be doing better with background checks and vetting people, but I don't know how strict that is.
Yeah, some of the apps now are surveying you. Have you seen this?
Yes.
Where it's give us your feedback on how, your safety. Have you met up with this person? Did you feel safe with them? If you match with...
Kind of recommendations from past dates or encounters that people that they've met.
Yeah. I've also heard of these sites Are We Dating the Same Guy? Have you heard of these?
Well, I've seen the things on Facebook when it all unfolds.
Yes, okay. So I'm also on a couple of those Facebook pages as well, which I feel have helped me because what it is you're online dating. Let's say you find a guy you're interested in, you're talking or whatever, and you want to make sure this guy is a good guy or vetted. So they'll take a screenshot of his profile picture and then they'll post it anonymously to this Are We Dating the Same Guy? And then you can anonymously comment your experience with that person. So I've seen several situations where and who doesn't love to read the comments on these things, right?
Exactly.
It's very entertaining, but where other women have literally saved girls from going on first dates with men that have had DV in the past, or experiences with domestic violence in the past. So I'm on that too, but I feel like that also is like scary, because it's like I feel like there are so many guys posted on there constantly, like, avoid this guy, avoid this guy, like.
Well, yeah. Now, is that location based as well?
They have it for so like there's are we dating the same guy? Chicago, okay. 815. I know Madison has one. I think they're like city based,
okay,
maybe, or but
I mean, interestingly enough, because I did some podcast research before this, so because it goes both ways, right? Like, what if your face is on there because of something somebody didn't like that he did, but it wasn't
bad,
accurate or true? So, because one of the situations was this guy who pretty much said, yeah, I dated this girl, she seemed a little crazy, that's my type, right? So he went on a couple dates with her. He's like, it kind of escalated, but eventually he's like, I just stopped returning her messages and calls. And so she ends up reporting him to the dating app. And so he's like, I'm getting these emails, I just thought maybe I got confused with someone else. Like, he had no idea what was going on. But it was her pretty much reporting him, saying he did all these things to her when he didn't.
Weird.
And he's like, at that point, I was ready to walk away from the dating app, so I couldn't deal with anymore. Crazy. But and I think everybody has levels, right? Like, yeah. I can be crazy too. I am a female. I think it's genetic that things happen to us. Like, where do we start to get mad, or what crosses the line, or so it goes both ways. But I think you have to be careful too, because somebody can get revenge just by saying don't date him.
Yeah, so you're using it as a positive, and it's being turned around as a negative.
I mean, that I didn't even think about that too, but
CCAP.
Well, they had like in college, like, rate my professor, and I never went on that website because I always wanted to get my own first impression of the professor. Like, I didn't want to read about everybody else's feeling or review about it. So that's why I'm a little leery to like see all of these things on there, because it does deter me from continuing to date online.
But I think online dating is not like buying a pair of shoes on Amazon that you're looking at the reviews for. I mean, your safety could be involved, right?
Right.
It's not like picking a resort in Mexico where you're reading the comments of other travelers,
And I think, between me and you, we know the amount of unfortunate, like, evil things that can happen, right? So, I get every worst case scenario. People don't just come to see me for like a good day.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things I know that other people won't know. Same with you. But it's nice to know the rest of the world doesn't know that, because bad people are just going to be bad. They do bad things. Criminals are criminals. But I don't think it should be perceived that way, because I think there's a lot more good than there is bad.
Yeah.
But it sometimes is just hard, especially with online dating, because you really don't know who you're talking to.
Right. What do you think are some like red flags, or what red flags have you seen in some of your cases where they've mentioned maybe, like?
Honestly, most of the ones I see, like, they just met them and decided to meet them out. Like, there was no vetting. The age span, because I think Yellow was an app that was like Tinder for kids. Do you remember Yellow?
What? No.
Yeah, I think it was called Yellow. But the thing with some of those apps is that once they get reported enough, it'll get taken down, but then a new one pops up. So it just gets renamed, but it's doing the same thing. So for some of that, or even like Snapchat for kids, like, they're just out, letting anybody be friends with them, sharing their locations with people, whatever, and then someone will say, hey, you want to hang out? And they're like, yeah. And so then they'll go meet them. Like, when the mall was still up and running, I cannot even tell you how many teenagers I had come from there, where they just like met somebody, went in the parking lot, and then like a parent found luckily they never left. Like, so there could be so many worst case scenarios, but just random stuff like that where they
So do you think
just-
that's a red flag? Like if you're on a dating app, you match with somebody and they're like, let's meet up right away? Like,
I think that depends age-wise.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like my age dating, I find a lot of women like, I don't want to waste my time. Let's find out right away if we match, because I'm not wasting 3-4 days texting you back and forth or messaging you back and forth if we're not going to be a good match. That being said, I think younger people dating, I totally agree with getting to know that person. So some things, what do you put in your profile? How do you write your profile? Avoid using your full name.
yeah, I never put my.
Maybe not
Sometimes
even
I
your
see
first
people
name.
put their full name in there,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that is really. Well, I don't even think that. Now they have the reverse Google image search, so you can take a screenshot of somebody's photo, put it into Google, and it can pop up with your entire.
Yeah,
Everything,
profile.
all your profiles, your LinkedIn. So like even that though, it's like,
So they say never use social media pictures on your dating profile.
You need to take new ones.
really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Avoid giving out your home address, giving your employer. Now think if somebody wants to stalk you or find out more about you and you tell them, oh, I work for Mercyhealth in Janesville. Maybe they start hanging out in the parking lot.
I'm trying to, oh my God.
Yeah, looking for that person that matches your picture, and now they know your car, now they follow you home, and you don't know anything that's going on with this person. Avoid giving details about your daily routine was another big one. You mentioned the reverse search on Google for the images, and avoid using photos of your children or family.
I always thought that that was a red flag. Like being in my late 30s, I understand the majority of men my age are going to have a child. And some of them don't put their kids in any of their pictures. Like to me, I think that's like huge green flag, thumbs up. But like some of these guys, they're just like out there with the whole fam, like their entire family on these. I'm like, that's probably not safe, right? Like
Right.
that to me is a red flag. Now,
But on the other hand, if they don't mention even having kids and no pictures in there, or if they have pictures, maybe it's their niece or nephew or,
well, yeah, sometimes I think they do. Like,
yeah. So
indicate
I
it.
guess I go both ways on that one. I agree not putting, because what if somebody is trying to get information on me and they happen to see a family member that they know? Or,
Oh, I
hey,
didn't think
little Johnny, do you know this little girl in this picture? Oh yeah, she's a 6th grader at my school. Well, what's her name? You know what I mean?
Wow.
So we're thinking logically. You got to think illogically. And that's where Jamie and I's experience is.
Yeah, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Always question, be jaded. Just a little bit.
Yeah, because even, it's more common to be a male predator, sorry, Briggs,
Yep, I get
than a
I get it.
female, but there are females who may want a single dad to have access to their children. It happens.
Like-
Yes.
That Netflix murder episode where the nanny went over to England with the dad and the 2 kids.
I have no idea.
No, I've never seen it.
Oh, it's new. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but she like 100% wanted access to his kids.
Yeah.
And then he ended up getting killed. And I guess her and her dad went to jail for it. But then now they're out. It's like a whole docu-series on.
Well, one of the podcasts that I listened to, there was a whole thing on like certain dating apps where, I talked to Briggs about this before, like it is a predator's playground, right? They're looking for people's vulnerabilities. They're looking for what is in your photo. Because if I find you attractive and I can figure out your favorite places to go, whatever, I just might hang out there to kind of watch you. I might want to follow you. Like, you don't know, right? So one of the stats was like from the UK, I think you sent it to me, it's like 74% have 74% of people who use dating apps experience sexual violence. But a lot of it is sexual harassment and stalking. Not that discredits, right, sexual violence, but when Briggs talks about what you put in your profile, like a lot of that is how people will continue to stalk. So now they know your name. Now they can find out different information about you. If you gave them your actual phone number, now how do you shut that off? Because if they have your number, especially if it's a business line, it's not just easy for you to shut it off. You could block them, but it doesn't mean they can't call you from 50 other numbers. They still have your number. So one of the suggestions was like using a Google Voice number, but then letting people know if you're talking to them like, hey, this is a generated number. This isn't my personal one. Like if I get to know you better, like I would be happy to share that with you. But just so they kind of know they're not being scammed, because that was another thing. Well, if it's not somebody's real number, how do I know I'm not being scammed? So I think there's just a lot of things to think about because it's so easy for somebody to find out information based on different things they watch or see or blow up. Like if they're from your area and you took a picture in a park, oh, I love to come here, and they're blowing up different things trying to figure out exactly where that was taken, they might just start hanging out there because they know you're coming.
Yeah, wild. I would never I don't try to put I'm very private about my home life, and I think a lot of people are just really aware of that, not to put that out on blast. But I would never think if I was at, a restaurant in downtown, or I would never think that somebody would. But I'm not a creep like that, I guess.
How many profile pictures do you see of men in bars?
Yeah, there's so many. I mean,
and can you pick out that bar?
I feel like locally, if they're local,
sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very easy to determine that. So,
so now that we've found our dating app and created our profile, it's time to start matching. So what are some red flags that we look for when checking out profiles?
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like if the conversation is really awkward from the get-go,
generalized answers, vague.
Not even or just I just had a really, really weird one. I matched with this guy, and he, his initial comment was bizarre. And I didn't even understand what it meant. And so I had to ask him. And then when I asked him, what does this mean? He didn't answer the question. And I was like, nope, unmatched. It was so weird. I got really bad vibes.
Yeah.
So that would be, for me, an initial red flag is first initial comment. I've also had friends tell me that they get really sexual really fast.
Unsolicited pictures.
Yeah, or just talking dirty, inappropriate, and they're not even asking, they're asking them what do you do for a living? It's
yeah.
So I feel those.
That, and I think a lot of detailed questions. Trying to find out, where do you work? What shift do you work? Do you have kids? How old are they? Those questions like that right off the bat that are just immediate, this doesn't seem right. Communicating through the app. At what point do you give them your phone number?
I feel I've waited maybe a week, 2 weeks.
After you've met this person?
No, because you have to initiate
the conversation in the app.
Right. Yeah. And then if it's a week and you're consistently talking on the app, then I'm okay, let's take it to text. Or they'll ask to take it to text. But I'm really contemplating. You're going to be no.
My rule personally is until I meet you, I'll communicate through the app. Because if this goes bad on the first initial meet, then she's got my phone numbers out there.
Okay.
So if we go on the first date, I'll call it a first date. And it's you are not what you said you were. You don't look like you did because of the filters. Right? Am I wrong here?
No, you're right.
You're right.
Then I don't have to worry. I can just end communication on the app, and I don't have to worry about her having my phone number.
Okay, that's really smart, actually. But I, luckily, knock on wood, I've not had anyone that I've given my number to be creepy. But now I'm
You're
like,
new.
oh my God.
You're new. Maybe you're
I
just
am
that
new,
good
I
at
am
vetting
new.
people.
No, I mean, I didn't even think about that. Like, so then, like, when you go to initiate your first date or whatever, you say, okay, I'll text you through the app, or like I'll communicate through the app and have you had good response with that? Like, have some?
That's just a hard rule for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll be blunt with it and just say, I don't feel comfortable with that yet.
Do you think it's an age thing?
Maybe.
Well,
Like I said, I've learned through trial and error.
Okay.
I've had bad experiences with giving my phone number out. So live and you learn.
Okay.
I was going to say, yeah, some of the stuff that I read pretty much just said, have your boundaries, right? If somebody breaks your boundary or doesn't respect it, why would you go forward? So if your bottom line is, no, I'm going to meet you, and until then I'm not giving you my number, why don't go around it? Just hold yourself to that standard.
I like that. That's my new.
Yeah, like you probably have a hard line on, I don't like smokers. I will not date a smoker.
Right.
Or I'm allergic to cats or whatever. You're not going to fudge on those. So
Right.
why would you fudge on something else, right? And if they, like Jamie said, if they're pestering you on it, sorry, unfollow.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you think once they have your number, you can go to any service and pay your $10 fee. Now they have your address, they know where you work, like depending on what's all linked to your number, like possible relatives, places you've lived, like you can find all of that out just by a phone number. So,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So we've been chatting for a week, several days, and now it's time to meet this person. What are some criteria that you require? Like, do you not meet in, first of all, are they coming to pick you up?
Absolutely not.
No, right? We're meeting at a public place
Yeah, of course.
that's well lit. We're not doing, let's go on a hike at Rock Cut State Park at 8:30 at night.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I like morning coffee. Or like a lunchtime,
So
or
you
maybe
date unemployed people.
or maybe
Just kidding.
or maybe like drinks, like during the like weekend,
Yeah.
like early afternoon drinks. But like I don't want to go on a first date dinner unless there's like
Hard no.
sparks flying through, like unless I'm like, man, this person's fantastic. I don't think I would
red
do-
flag.
Red flag.
So my criteria is I do not do a meal the first time I meet this person.
Right.
Because if it's bad, I got to sit through the whole meal.
And pay for it.
And pay for it, yeah. I like the let's meet for a drink. Because then I don't have to worry about somebody ever accusing me of, he got me drunk, or seeing this person drinking and now they're acting crazy. And it's just a quick, easy, I want to get to know you to see if we want to continue with this.
What would you suggest if your one drink turns into several because the person the date that you're on is just pounding? Red
Drink.
flag. Red flag.
I'm out right off the bat.
Oh, okay.
One drink and out if it's red flag. And I done. Bye.
Okay, so I just recently went on a date with a guy in Madison, and he suggested a place. My best friend and her husband live up there, and so I was spending the weekend with them anyway. But my best friend always has my location. Like, we share each other's locations constantly, and during this date, I'm not even like 2 or 3 sips into my drink, and his drink is completely gone. And I was like, oh my God.
Was
Could
he,
that
like,
be
nervous?
nerves? Yeah, that's what I was thinking is nerves.
Well, so then offers to buy another round of drinks. Well, I'm not done with my first drink. Another round. I'm like, where do I, okay, that was enough. Like, I guess maybe I need to figure out the boundary of like, how long am I going to allow that to happen?
Well, just because he's ordering another drink doesn't mean you have to.
Right. No, exactly. But like,
Oh, so you weren't.
No, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, and then it just kept, the conversation kept going.
Uncomfortable conversation?
No, it was fine, but it was
Okay.
just like, after a couple of hours, I was like, okay, like I could be done now.
Yeah.
But I guess I just didn't know how to.
So before that first date, I always say I've got something to do later on at this time. So that's my out right there.
Okay.
You know, and if things are going great, I can reschedule that. You know, I give myself, God, I'm throwing my secrets out here.
I like it.
I feel like I do this on a regular basis with like friends.
So for me, I always, and granted, this goes against the, I guess, traditional guys making the plan for the first date. I always let the woman pick the first date place. So it's someplace comfortable for her.
I like that.
And that way I know it's maybe she can then have her spies sitting at 3 tables over to keep an eye on her. Or, you know, something where, environment where she picks it and feels comfortable at that place. Maybe it's her favorite coffee shop, bar, whatever. What's your safety plan look like when meeting this person for the first time? You said you're a friend and you share locations.
Yeah, so
Great idea.
I think I checked in with her like every hour. Like, just to be like, hey, I'm still here. That was like, you know, the only really plan that I had. Oh my, I'm like freaking out. Should I have had a better plan?
No, I think just letting them know where you're going, maybe share one of the profile pics this guy has.
Oh
with
yeah,
them.
I did show her what he looked like.
Yeah.
Yep. So she didn't know
and
that.
the app sharing, the location sharing, huge.
Yeah.
Because unless your phone gets turned off, you're on. Family or friends knowing where you're at.
What's your safety?
So back in the day when my daughters were still at home, tell them where I'm going, who I'm going to meet. Call me in 45 minutes. If the date is going good, you're just letting me know you got home from wherever you're at.
Oh,
if
I
the
love
date is
that.
going bad, what, you had a flat tire on the interstate? And
You gotta go. I gotta go. Okay.
thanks for meeting me. I've got to run though. My daughter's on the side of the interstate.
Oh my God. Okay, so I need a good excuse.
out, yeah.
I need an out. Okay.
Yeah. But
that
then
can be
it's just
whatever.
setting it, it's just setting like, I've got an hour that I can give you. Let's meet for a drink. And then if it's going good, I can always say, well, I can put that off for tomorrow. So, but yeah, location sharing apps, that's an awesome thing to have. I'm not saying you have to have Life 360 with your best friends, but just sharing your location on your phone,
Yeah.
I think is a really good thing. What are some things you discuss with your patients as far as how to, I don't want to say make better choices because that's not the right thing to say, but not end up in a similar situation?
So, pretty much everything you've talked about. Always a public place. Even if it is a dinner or something, like never having them get you a drink when you go to the bathroom.
Very good point.
Like if your drink is done and there is already a new one when you come back, just ask the waitress or whoever to you don't want that one because it was unattended, right? Like we don't really know. You might feel something's off. I always really say, you always follow your intuition. If something's off, it is, right? You don't need that thing to happen. We're just born with this innate,
Sixth sense.
yeah, that something's wrong. And so you just always follow it. Don't ever, if it's a red flag, just follow that's a red flag. Maybe it's a red flag for you. Maybe it's not a red flag in general. But so yeah, the drink thing is big because I do get quite a bit of people who come in where they have ingested something, which I'm not always going to be able to tell you what it was. If it's something that's being reported to law enforcement, we can do certain toxicology for crime lab, and they can do a lot of testing that the hospital can't. But in general, if you think that somebody gave you something, they did, especially if you drink, right? If you typically have 2 or 3 drinks, but this time you had 1.5 and you're like, something was not right. Well, because you probably had something you haven't had before. So I think, the location sharing is big. Never letting them give you a ride home. You do not want them to know where you live. You don't want them picking you up from there. If you are going to do like a hookup, typically the safest place to do that then would be like a hotel, because there are other people there. So, or if something's off, most restaurants and bars have like a code word, like I need a snowball shot, I think was one of them. Or it means
to the bartender.
Call the cops. Yep.
Okay.
Something's not right.
I never knew that.
Yeah. Some of them will just say, here's our pizza menu. Because ordering a pizza or I'd like to look at your pizza list means this person won't leave me alone. So there's different things you can do. Most of the time it's going to be posted in the bathroom, but females are predators too. So are there things posted in the men's bathroom?
No.
Right. But they can get slip stuff. Like in Nashville, the target lately has been males in their 20s. So it's, you just don't know. So just anything you can do to.
What would you suggest? So I've been in a situation in college where I did not leave my drink unattended. I actually had my drink in my hand. And I know this, I just got there. This was the first drink that I had. And they had, I don't know, Captain Morgan reps or some reps, vendor alcohol reps were in the bar promoting. So they had, beads and cups and all the little tchotchkes that they were giving out. And one of the reps threw a Captain Morgan stir stick in my drink. Not 20 minutes later, and I had like 2 or 3 sips, first drink of the night, I knew something was wrong. What do you do in a situation like that if you're in public and you acknowledge, like, oh my gosh, I think something was put into my drink? What would you suggest or recommend somebody do?
I mean, were you there by yourself?
Luckily, no. In my situation, I had a couple girlfriends there. I told them, I was like, something's wrong. I'm not feeling something. They put me in a cab and I went home. But after that, when I got into my apartment, I blacked out.
I mean, I think it's tricky because, yes, I would leave, right? If you're already feeling something's off, at least someone was with you. I mean, I don't know exactly what law enforcement does, but I feel like my intuition would be to like report it, right? Because there's other people there. Because they do. I have had cases of things like this happening at some of our exotic dance clubs, where there have been situations that have happened where people are targeted, but sometimes it's already in the cup, right? They give you a cup, it already was in there, so you're thinking you're just pouring something in, or you're seeing someone else pour something in there, and you saw them open the can, but it could have already been in the cup.
Wow.
So for you, yeah, maybe it was the stir stick. Like my nieces who are in college, I bought them like cap covers. There are like scrunchy ones you can have, or you can like have it on your wrist, and then when you get a drink, you put it on, but you can still get stuff in a straw. Like pretty much the thing is, you always have to have your hand, because even if you're hanging on to it and you're talking to somebody,
Right.
I mean, people can still, you just have to be overly, it is crazy to me how protective you have to be over yourself, because people are choosing to target you. But if you're going to be out,
Drink
you need to
cans
do
and
that.
bottles, not mixed drinks.
Well, and you think, like when I talk to colleges, like I talked to your daughter when she was in nursing school, I talk to nursing students all the time about different things and like environmental, safety features where, females in general are taught to be polite, right? Like we don't need to be polite. If somebody's giving you the creeps, be like, I'm not talking to you. Like who cares if they think you're being snotty, right? Or what's the other, a prude? Who cares?
Yeah.
I don't really care that you think that about me. Being direct with people, so like the whole polite thing goes out the window because it's safety. But, there's no other, when you're a girl growing up, you're taught, go to a bathroom in pairs. Don't walk alone at night. Here's a whistle for you, or a siren, whatever it is, like mace. I mean, boys aren't taught to do that. So, but when we talk to people, because I go to Whitewater too and talk to their football players, and it pretty much is teaching them, like, what if that was your sister or your mother? Would you let people gang up on her? You know what they're doing. Can you intervene? If you can't, find somebody who will. Like, we need to teach both sexes to be better at helping than just pretending like I didn't see it. Like, there shouldn't be the girl laying in the bushes.
Right.
It never should have gotten to that. But also, keep your hands to yourself. Why do you have to touch other people? Like,
Yeah.
you don't have a right, when we talk to, victims who come through and they're like, well, it was something I did, or maybe I led them on. I'm like, you should be able to walk naked and nobody can touch you.
Right.
That's not a right they have because you're sitting there. So, things like that in general is just, you can't be too safe for yourself, and you need to just kind of put up your boundaries and stick to it.
I look back at my situation and I think I shouldn't have gotten in the cab alone.
Right, I agree.
That to me was probably where I feel like I could have done better and had one of my friends come back with me, because thankfully I was still conscious enough to get up to my apartment before I had,
What if you blacked out in the back of the cab?
Exactly. And I've heard horror stories about Ubers and people that have done that, and their drivers take advantage of them.
Well, but you think, this happened to me within the past year. We were out with friends and somebody said, I was staying in a hotel, and they're like, well, I'll give you a ride home. And I was like, no, it's okay, like, I'll take an Uber, but like, stranger or like friend, right? And I was like, all right, yeah, no, he can drop me off, right? And I didn't drink quite a bit, but when I got back to the hotel and I got out of the car, now he's like, well, let me walk you up to your room. I'm like, no. And then like the next day, like I remember he was like grabbing my hand and I was like, what are you doing, right? But then I thought, like, was it me? Like, did I drink that much that I didn't know what was going on? But in my head, I'm like, no, I know I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
I just was trying to walk to my room. Well, I'll just make sure you get up there. No. Like, I was very...
Yeah.
And
Get
that's
off
the way
me.
you have to be, yeah.
And, like, I still see this person. And in my head, I'm like, how do you sit next to me and think I don't know what
What you're trying, yeah.
what was happening? Like, it's creepy. So, even now, and I don't think I put myself in any, I know I didn't, but probably shouldn't have drank that much, but it was a party for me.
You're celebrating yourself. Yeah, why wouldn't
Yes.
you?
So,
It goes back to that old thing. It's like the old saying or the justification, but look what she was wearing.
yeah.
That is, has nothing to do with it. And it's just people being decent.
And like, you're my friend,
Yeah.
right? Like, but most of assaults, it's less likely it's a stranger, which it's usually somebody or, you should be able to be around, like, why did you do that to me? So I think you have to be careful for that too. Like, you're less likely for something to happen in a public place with somebody you met on a dating app that you've talked to a few times than sometimes being with somebody you've known for a couple years, having a few drinks, and now all of a sudden they think they can do what they want. Yeah. So.
Wow.
What did we miss? Are you still going to online date? Or did we scare the heck out of you?
I'm definitely going to be more aware. I think the photos thing, I didn't really think that through on like not having similar or, the same photos on a social media as, well, and some people, like in some of these apps, they give you the option to hook up your social directly to your,
Yes.
I don't do that.
No.
Well, and I said there was there's a Facebook app and then an app called Happen. It's like HAPPN, and both of those are location based. So it's based on the location of your phone when you're using it, and it will do like a proximity of other people around you. So like the Happen one, says it connects people who have crossed paths in real life and uses your phone's location data to show profiles of other users you've probably walked past.
What? That is so creepy.
I know Match.com did have that back,
Yeah.
maybe 10 years ago, where it's like, you and so-and-so are close within a mile of each other right now.
Are you
And
for
it was just a
real?
notification, yeah. I don't know if
Yeah,
they still do it
there
or
was
not.
Well, I
another-
know. I think on some of them you have to have your location on, or like at least where you're.
So you can pick your radius,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
But that's not live time, like, hey, you're within...
yeah, you're
you know.
walking by, or like
Yeah.
that's so creepy.
And can you imagine if you were at like a concert or a bar, how
Oh my
many
God.
people that could potentially be within your vicinity?
Yeah, I would.
Well, and what was the other one? The Facebook one, it said,
Is that just in Facebook?
Facebook dating, I think, is
Yeah.
part of Facebook, yeah.
oh, it says, so if you do that one, your profile is not visible to your Facebook friends, so it is separate. But it uses your data, your interests, your groups, the events you go to suggest matches of other people in the app. It does also use your location to filter your matches. And you can only use it on your phone. You can't use it on a desktop.
Weird.
Because it needs the
Weird.
data from your phone.
Sure.
Yeah, it's...
Well, yeah, I guess I'm a lot more aware now. I feel like you're like an expert. You should be given a class on
Yeah, no. Not at all.
don't do this, make sure you don't
Longevity
do
doesn't
this.
mean I'm an expert.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I think that wraps it up. Did we miss anything?
I don't think so.
Hopefully you fall happily ever after. You meet that right person, because let's face it, dating options are meeting people in the regular world. We're not running into people in the grocery stores and banging our carts together to introduce ourselves to
You
somebody.
could try that, though.
I have, it doesn't work.
You're like really wanting that in-person meet cute. You're like, oh, ramming the car. But you're so aggressive.
But I mean, I guess I'm not trying to talk people out of online dating. I think just being aware of certain things that you should put in your profile, maybe should not put in your profile, information that you should not give out, and meet that person under your terms. For women, I think. For men, I think allow the woman to dictate how that first date goes.
Make the decisions.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it may come across as non-traditional, or the man plans the date, but I try to explain, like, I want you to feel as comfortable as you can. You pick the place.
If anybody has any questions or comments, you can leave us a comment on YouTube and we can answer that in the next segment.
Or
Like
if you need research,
Dr.
like
Ruth here.
resources. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Jamie, I think your expertise and knowledge is like top shelf. So thank you for...
Thank you for having me.
It's crappy that you have a job, but
I know. It'll be like the best day ever when this doesn't exist anymore.
Do you ever foresee that happening?
Not until people learn how to behave.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different, like I was telling Briggs before that, now people like are perpetrating other people in AI worlds. Like they're taking like your image and like creating things with it and you don't even know. So
Oh my gosh, like
there's a
the-
whole different level now, which does go into the whole profile photos and what you're sharing, because anybody can steal any image on any platform. And
Like the deep fakes of like celebrities and stuff too, right? Oh my God.
well, yeah, it gets way worse than that. But
I feel like
probably not for this podcast.
yeah, we could probably do a whole nother episode talking about like, because like I'm thinking about like being recorded without your consent, you know, all of that deep fake. How do you determine if you're getting conned by? Have you seen those like 2020s or the Hulu episodes where it's like conned for money and
yeah, the
that-
catfishes.
yes.
Wisconsin, they're like ranked, well, it's safe for online dating compared to Illinois. But for the most part, Wisconsin is pretty high on being catfished. So like romance scams is what they call it. But as far as like online dating in general, we're 18th safest in the nation. So, I mean, there's other states that are not safe at all, or it's more fraud, like identity theft, fraud type situation, but that happens too.
So you're coming back on another episode in the future, because there's a lot. I mean, we could go into a lot there. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
and I'm just like skimming the surface of this, like just dipping my
Yeah,
toe
we're
in
getting
for
to
the
come
first.
back. We're just gonna give you a little bit, a taste.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
It's like now I'm gonna be deleting all my dating profiles.
Well, we're not. Look, don't do
Yeah,
that.
you're fine. You have phone of friends now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Watch this episode repeatedly.
Yeah.
We
Hey,
need the
so-
views, number one.
There's a situation I had. I'm just gonna start texting you directly. Oh man.
Want to lead us out?
Yeah, make sure you give us a like, a follow on all social media, ems.org for any of our, actually I messed that up, ems.org for any of our trauma classes and courses. And yeah, until next time, what does Trent say?
I don't. Thanks for watching.
I
That's
think
what
it's
wanna say.
like, as always, be sure to live in the moment.
Oh.
I think.
Ding.
Thank you for tuning into In the Moment with TPC. We hope today's episode left you feeling informed and inspired to take proactive steps in trauma care, preparedness, and resilience. Remember, every moment matters, and the knowledge we share today could make all the difference tomorrow. If you found this episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with others who might benefit. For more resources and updates, visit us at mercyems.org. Until next time, stay safe, stay prepared, and as always, stay in the moment.